nome del Padre, Figliolo, Spiritus Sancto. Amen.
Such a separation.
Okay. Here we go. Thank you for being here. The title of my talk today, Keeping Your Heart Open in a World Reflecting Fear. Okay, I was thinking of, actually the lessening of fear, excuse me, that is going on with the pandemic easing. And I thought about, the year that we've gone through. And the line from A Tale of Two Cities keeps coming through my mind. It's how the book A Tale of Two Cities opens. It says, it was the best of time, it was the worst of times. So, when I think about this past year and all the things that have happened, it was the worst of times, but in many ways it was also the best of times as well. So this past week, I did a little organization in the office and got some things together and lists of all of our meetings. And we started a new meeting this past week. Reverend Paula started a new drop-in meeting on Thursdays. And I counted up, and we now have 14 Zoom meetings a week. I mean, there's 14 meetings. There's drop-in meetings that are free or by donation that anybody can go to. There's the Sunday gathering, of course, and then there's classes for enrolled and registered students. And I'm just thinking of the 14 meetings and the Sunday gathering and all the things we've done on Zoom and how we've really been able to just expand and get the word out to so many different people. And that's a really great thing. That's one of the best things that has happened in this past year. I'm really, really grateful for that. And then I'm also aware of the news media and the continual stream of news, quote, news and information that we get. And it's this continual stream about how we're vulnerable, that we need all these things to protect us. Every time that I watch television, and I don't watch a lot of television, but when I do watch television, I'm just amazed at how many of the ads for things are from pharmaceutical companies advertising medicines for all the weaknesses and sicknesses and vulnerabilities that we have, and the continual message that we get from just about everybody that we're vulnerable and we need to wear masks still, even if we're vaccinated, and we need to practice social distancing, and of course we need those vaccines, and that continual steady stream of information about how vulnerable we are. And what I know that, okay, that's a world reflecting fear, but I need to keep my heart open. And my guidance is to continually remind myself that the body's designed to work. The body's designed to work. I guess I'm not going to ever see some ad on television that's going to talk about how great our body is and how well it's working, because there's nothing to sell for that. But the body is designed to work, and I need to keep my heart open and counteract all those things that talk about how dangerous the world is. Course in Miracles says the body, hardly worth the least defense, need merely be perceived as quite apart from you, and it becomes a healthy, serviceable instrument through which the mind can operate until its usefulness is over. So, of course, in Miracles is continually telling us how, with the proper perspective, the body functions perfectly. And it doesn't need any of these defenses that the world, in so many different ways, keeps telling us that it needs. And I need to stay open to that. And we need to stay open to that. And we need to continually give that message to the world and be a voice for that message to the world, because there's plenty of voices for the other message. And I think the Holy Spirit's message and God's message of the health and perfection of the body is something that really needs to be continually put out there. We are safe, not because we have medicines, and not because we have vaccines, and not because we have masks. We are safe because we have the truth. And that was in the reading that Reverend Paula read. It was in the last paragraph. It says, your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Fear does not exist. Identify with love and you are safe. So all those other things that tell us of those things that we need to keep us safe, they're actually lies. And our safety is actually not in those things. They will never really work. But truth will work. Love will work. Acceptance will work. Happiness will work. And our safety is in those things. So we've had a lot of the other message. In that sense, this has been the worst of times. But I know for me, it has driven me to center myself more firmly in the discipline that I love and have embraced for 40 plus years. And I have strengthened my practice of A Course in Miracles over this past year. And that's a wonderful thing. And that has made it the best of times for me. And there's been many other little ways that it's the best of times. I mean, last April, when everything was hitting and the stock market was crashing, and I have, a fair amount of money that's somehow in one way or another tied up in the stock market, I asked for guidance. I asked Holy Spirit for guidance. I ask Holy Spirit for guidance for everything. I ask Holy Spirit for help getting parking places. Well, I ask Holy Spirit for investment advice too. And the guidance I got from the Holy Spirit when the stock market was crashing was 2 words: investment opportunity. Investment opportunity. So I wrote a big check and sent it to my brokerage firm, and I started investing money. And I was told by many that I was nuts. And that I should be pulling my money out of the market, not putting more money into the market. But I got investment opportunity, and I followed the Holy Spirit's guidance, and I am so glad I did, because it has been the best of times financially and in the market. And my net worth has increased more this past year than it has any year of my existence. So it's the best of times amidst the worst of times. And it was the best of times too, because I also got the guidance, as I've talked about many times, to up my game. And that's why I put on the cleric collar. And that has been amazing for me in so many ways. And I've talked about it, but it's just really been part of increasing how I've embraced A Course in Miracles and my role and my special function in the world. So we have to keep our heart open. We have to keep communicating with the Holy Spirit, and we have to keep asking for guidance on everything. And I think there's, a wonderful little question you can ask yourself if you want to see how open your heart is. Ask yourself how you feel about the presidential candidate that you did not vote for. How do you feel about the presidential candidate that you did not vote for? And if you feel love and acceptance and warmth and happiness about that person, you're probably doing pretty good. But if you don't, there's probably some work for you to do. And now is the time to do the work. The window is open, as I talked about in Miracles Weekly this past week. There's a window of opportunity right now, and I believe the window is open. The truth is, the time to work on your healing is not when you're ill. The time to work on your healing is when you're healthy. That's the time to really work on your healing. The time to work on A Course in Miracles isn't when you're in the midst of a panic. I mean, that's a good time too. Of course, you want to do it then, but the real time that you can make great strides is when you're doing pretty well. And so the world is doing a little better right now, and this is a good time for us to do some good spiritual work because the window of opportunity is open. Okay, last Friday, I got messages from Reverend Peter and Reverend Tedosio that they were in Oracle Park, which is the baseball stadium in San Francisco, because it was the first day that the baseball stadium was open and there was a public game going on, and they were watching the San Francisco Giants play. And I believe the San Francisco Giants actually won that game, if my research is correct, 3-1 against the Colorado Rockies, who I didn't even know were a team until I looked that up because I know nothing about sports. But it was fun just to get the messages from Reverend Peter and Reverend Ted, and they were having such a good time. Reverend Ted took a picture of the hot dog he was eating at the park, and, they were waving, and it was great. So, less fear, more openness, people happy, time to do work. This is the time to do good work. This is the window of opportunity. This is the time to listen to guidance and strengthen your ability to listen to guidance so that in times of need, you have a strengthened ability and can maybe hear a bit of guidance like investment opportunity instead of reacting in fear the way everybody else was. Okay. A Course in Miracles says, Holy Spirit will tell exactly what to do to help anyone he sends to you for help, and will speak to him through you if you do not interfere. The Holy Spirit is always with us and is always giving us the guidance that we need. And if this is a window of opportunity to spread these spiritual ideas, the way that we strengthen them in ourselves is by sharing them with other people. Right now we're all sharing these ideas here at the Sunday gathering. And as I said earlier, Community Miracle Center has 13 other meetings and classes all during the week when you can share these ideas. But also in your interactions and dealings with the people that you interact with and deal with every day of your lives, you can identify the little moments, the little windows of opportunity when a divine truth can be expressed. And you can trust that the Holy Spirit is going to tell you exactly what to say in those moments. But I believe that we have to be open to them and maybe expecting them to happen. So be expectant. Be expecting those moments to be happening now, because I think the world is eager and ripe to hear the true message of healing and peace and safety and love that we have to communicate to it. And I think there's a lot that we can do right now. As A Course in Miracles says, there's much to do. There is much to do, and we have been long delayed. There is much to do, and we have been long delayed. In another place it says, yet in time there is still much to do, and each must do what is allotted him. For on his part does all the plan depend. So I am just charging everybody here today and everybody who will listen to this talk in the future to just be ready to do all that the Holy Spirit is going to call on you to do. Because I think this is a time, now that the fear is easing, that there is this window of opportunity and we can reach people and we can strengthen this spiritual healing truth that we embrace, and we can strengthen it by sharing it with other people, which of course strengthens it in ourselves. Course in Miracles says, the messages which heaven's messengers deliver are intended first for them. And it is only as they can accept them for themselves that they become able to bring them further and give them everywhere that they were meant to be. So these messages that we may be giving to other people, we have to remember that first and foremost, they're for us. And it's only as we have that ability to really embrace them for ourselves that we can actually even give them to other people. And I'm very aware of that. I always have been. So, I write a talk here and I deliver the talk, and the appearance is I'm delivering a talk to other people, but obviously these are the things that I need to hear. And these are the messages that are first and foremost for me. And then as a way of strengthening them, I have this amazing ability to manifest an opportunity to share them with other people. And we all have that same ability. So there are things that are there for us to learn right now in this window of opportunity, in this lessening of fear. And I believe we will manifest the opportunities to share these messages with other people so that we can really learn them ourselves. So I am keeping my heart open, and even though there appears to be fear out there in the world, I know that that fear isn't actually out there in the world. That fear is actually just a manifestation of my own fear. And so I am willing to take part in the salvation and the healing of the world because I want to take part in my own salvation. And I'm not going to be lulled into some false complacency just because things seem to be on the surface a little better now. There are baseball games going on. Woohoo! I'm happy for that. And that is something that makes me smile. And I know that there is still a lot of work to do, and that's really just what A Course in Miracles call a truce. Course in Miracles says, mistake not truce for peace, nor compromise for the escape from conflict. So, the world is having a little more peace right now and less fear. It's a little bit of a truce. But it doesn't mean that the conflict is ended. There are new viruses that can spring up anytime. There are complications from vaccines. There are all kinds of things that will continue to happen because none of those things are truly the solution. Our open heart is the solution. Our love is the solution. Our forgiveness and our ability to be forgiving is the solution. And I see what's going on, and and I understand what my role is in it. Right now the narrative is being run a lot by the big pharmaceutical companies. The big pharmaceutical companies have a huge investment on the narrative that we are all weak and frail and dependent upon them for our very well-being and health. And, it's madness that thinks that. This whole paradigm that is being played out and the narrative that is being run is madness. And A Course in Miracles exposes this. The whole life cycle, the supposed life cycle of human beings, the way it's accepted, is madness. The Course says, is it not madness to think of life as being born, aging, losing vitality, and dying in the end? It's insanity to think those things. We study A Course in Miracles. We're here to give a different message. And I see a lot of A Course in Miracles students still really challenged by this. As clear as passages like this are, they're still real challenged by this. But it's just the dominant paradigm. And I grew up in a time when we all wanted to subvert the dominant paradigm. We knew that in order to really free our minds, that we had to subvert the dominant paradigm. So the first step in subverting it is challenging it. You just challenge it. Logically, reasonably, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that we were born in order to age, lose vitality, and die. We have to challenge that. I'm challenging that. Bodies do not have to be vulnerable. We do not have to be limited by our age. We do not have to progress in a debilitating way, and we do not have to die, especially not the way that it usually is played out in the world that we see. And this is not some, bizarre idea that Reverend Tony has about A Course in Miracles. This is what the book actually says. It says, it is the one fixed, unchangeable belief of the world that all things in it are born only to die. This is regarded as the way of nature, not to be raised to question, but to be accepted as the, quote, natural law of life. And no one asks if a benign creator could will this. Well, I'm going to ask. Benign means gentle and kindly. So I'm going to ask, could a gentle and kindly creator of life have created life to go through that? Aging, debilitation, sickness, dying? And the answer is no. A benign creator could not have created that. And so it is my own madness that I'm projecting out there that is manifesting that. And I am not going to support it if I can help it in any way that I can help it. So I am going to work to subvert that dominant paradigm, and that means taking on Big Pharma. Well, okay. Now, I don't want to see Big Pharma as evil. I don't want to see the government as evil or bad or guilty, or the presidential candidate that I did not vote for as bad or guilty or evil. That's just more of the separation. And the separation is what we're here to subvert. That's the dominant paradigm. It's not true. It doesn't make any sense. It's not reasonable. We have to challenge it. We have to subvert it. And one of the challenges that we have for doing that is that we like to see bad and evil out there because that means that's not us, because we're the innocent ones. So we're the innocent ones. The bad and evil are out there, Big Pharma, government, bad candidates. But that just reinforces the separation, and that's not true either. Course in Miracles says, the face of innocence searches for companions, and it looks at times with pity and suffering, and sometimes offers solace. It believes that it is good within an evil world. That attitude is not going to work. And a lot of spiritual people still have that attitude. They believe they're the good spiritual ones in an evil world. But I believe we, A Course in Miracles students, have accepted a bigger mission. We have accepted a mission that is going to challenge all of that. And I believe that we have that window of opportunity right now where people are listening, that we can tell them something else. We've just been through something. We're getting out of something that has been very challenging and very hard. It's been the worst of times in many, many ways. And now is that time to work on that foundation of peace and love and healing and forgiveness, so that the next time of challenge, we can approach it from a slightly higher perspective. And maybe we can get the message investment opportunity in the midst of a crisis. We have to raise these things to question. We have to raise everything to question. We have to raise nature to question. We have to keep our heart open in the midst of this world that is reflecting fear. And the way that we truly keep it open is to do what A Course in Miracles says, is question every value that we have. Don't make any of them sacred. We are holy, infinite, eternal, immortal beings. And the world here can become a close reflection to that. And that's what we're here to manifest. We're not here to accept in peace a world that tells us that we're frail and weak and need all these external things in order just to survive a few more years before we inevitably die anyway. That's madness. That's madness. That's insanity. It's time to let it go. It's time to subvert that dominant paradigm, and that goal and that mission will be what keeps our heart truly open. Okay, that's my talk for today. Thank you very much.
Nel nome del Padre, Figliolo, Spirito Santo. Amen.
Such a separation.